We teach dance in schools because it helps promote healthy well-being, it helps develop their social skills, communication skills, and it's just a lot of fun to do. It's a great lesson to kind of get them involved, get them active, get them creating and using their imagination, developing their technical skills and getting really used to how they can use their bodies and express things through their bodies without necessarily verbal communication. The creative side of dance is really important because it allows the students to really kind of develop how they can use their body and express different emotions, maybe storytelling, or very different ways of using their bodies. They may use a stimulus to help them find a starting point to then create something, but it allows them to use their brains and really focus on their independent thinking, learning skills that allow them to kind of create their own thing which they can kind of have ownership over. It's not the teacher teaching them a set movement, it's them being able to create something that's their own and that they can be really proud of and express whatever they want to within it. The stimulus is really important in a dance class, using it to kind of as a starting point to create something. So it could just be a simple piece of music, whether it's a different genre or from a different country or something like that, could spark off the imagination of a student. Artwork is a great one, trying to create a dance routine that expresses what they feel is represented in the artwork. It may not be what the person who originally painted the piece or created that artwork wanted, but it doesn't matter. It's coming from them and what they feel they want to express from it. You can also use things like poetry and storybooks. They're another great one to help you develop and start to create something. They may start to take it in a completely different direction, but the important thing is that they were given a really kind of clear thing to start with, and then they can then take it wherever they want to go. So the SESC structure has been created by Slanted Dance to help give teachers an idea of a kind of perfect structure of a dance class, to make sure that all the elements are included. So the first one is starter. So that's before they've even started doing anything like physical, it's something that gets them engaged in the lesson and starting to get them to think independently before anything else begins. So it's getting them focused on a particular task. So this could be also where the learning objectives are introduced, and it could have some relevance to that specific lesson, or it could just be about dance as a whole. So an activity that will get them really focused for the lesson. We then go on to Energizer, which is our warm-up, so making sure we're going through the cardiovascular, the mobilisation and the stretching. We then go on to the skill build. Now the skill build is the opportunity to develop their technique and their vocabulary. So teaching them set specific movements which can then be embedded into their routines, and they can keep developing over time, so they get more and more intense and harder as they go. Skills build is definitely the vocabulary and the terminology and developing that technical side. So it's starting to build on specific steps that they may learn, which could relate to a specific genre or could be a bit more generic movement. It's the opportunity for the teacher to teach them something, as opposed to it coming from them. So this is where they're sort of facilitating the learning by developing their skills with certain movements. These movements can then have a progression. So whether it's over the term, over the lesson, over a couple of terms, depending on the step, they can keep building up the sort of difficulty of the step, and then this can be embedded into their own choreography. They might choose to use it, but also as you start to structure routines, they can become harder as they progress through the key stages. We then go on to creative, which is a really important bit that's sometimes missed in a dance class, which is their point to allow them to really kind of focus on maybe a stimulus or something like that, where they can create their own movement. This could also include them doing improvisation. So it's allowing them to express whatever they're feeling or whatever you want them to feel in your lesson. And then the final C is the close, which is the bringing it all together. So you're checking their learning, consolidating everything you've done in that lesson, making sure they've hit their learning objectives and that they're leaving the lesson feeling like they've achieved something and they're going away raring to go, ready for the next lesson. So you've got them really energised and wanting them to kind of carry on developing their dance skills. So inclusion is really important within a dance class. So you want to make sure that everyone is achieving something in that lesson. And okay, it will be at varying different levels, but each student still comes away having hit the learning objectives and coming away feeling positive about what they've done. There is no reason why you can't include everyone in the lesson. If you've got a really wide age range, then the key is differentiation. So differentiating the pace of your lesson to make sure that it starts off slow so you can keep the pace of the people who maybe are struggling a little bit, but you can then also push and extend the learners who need something more challenging by giving extension tasks or adapting the choreography to add things. This can be done quite easily through just giving a few options generically to the class and allowing them to individually pick the version that they would like to do. That kind of allows everyone in the room to hit their learning objectives but at their own level. If you've got a student sitting out for like illness or injury or something like that, a really great thing to do is to get them really involved in the lesson. So it might be that in the creative task they become a bit of a director or a choreographer with a group and give their ideas and still get involved. Another way is if they're okay with the writing side of this stuff, is giving them a task. So it might be that they have to come up with a piece of feedback for every single student in the room, and they have an opportunity to give that at the end. So they have to say one thing they thought that person really worked on and developed in that lesson. That way you're really getting them to do the appreciation of dance and really focus on what can be developed. With special educational needs, there's a broad range of things you can do with them, and again it's all about differentiation. So going in with the same learning objectives as you would in a mainstream situation, but you are differentiating it for that student. So for example, if your kind of barrier is that they're in a wheelchair, that's not a barrier at all, that's actually an amazing choreographic tool. So as long as they're happy for you to do it, so you know, using that and including that within your choreography as a feature and as an extension of that person becomes a really positive thing, rather than what some people may think is sort of, you know, making it difficult for them to move. Also, like, depending on their special educational needs, some people may not necessarily be able to communicate verbally with their ideas, but that doesn't matter because you can still allow communication to happen physically. And vice versa, like there's a lot of times where I've had people who, again, who've done that sort of more director speaking choreographic role and got the others to move and do what they want within that task. So there's loads of ways that you can include everyone. There's really no reason why everyone can't achieve in the lesson.